Andy Cohen is changing his perspective on Craig Conover and Paige DeSorobo's breakup now that he's been catching up on Summer House Season 9. The Watch What Happens Live with Andy Cohen host said it was eye-opening to watch Paige talk about how she felt like Craig wasn't being supportive of her career on Summer House. And with all of the discourse about Paige and Craig, it is really interesting now to see Paige's POV. Andy explained on the April 22 broadcast of his Sirius XM show, Briefing on Bravo. And Craig was like, I was blindsided. And when you watch Paige all summer long, she's like, I'm not. She's anxious. Andy's co-host, John Hill, added, there's a teaser for next week. And he's like, well, if you're gonna be this busy, I don't think this can happen. And it's like you can see the look on her face. It's like, girl, like what do you want me to do? Retire? Right, Andy agreed. Andy Cohen previously said Paige and Craig were the first couple of Bravo. The dad of two previously weighed in on the split, which took place in November 2024 but was announced in December on a broadcast of his radio show. We were very sad to get the news about Paige and Craig, I have to say, Andy admitted in January 2025. Andy said that he was rooting for them, but he recognized that the two were both in the middle of an incredible amount of success in their respective careers. Everybody loved them, he continued. Who's the first couple of Bravo now? They really were the first couple of Bravo. Everyone was rooting for them. I don't know. Why did Craig Conover and Paige DeSorbo break up? When announcing the breakup for the first time on the December 30 episode of Giggly Squad, Paige said that she and Craig were on different paths for what they wanted for the future. As viewers saw on Southern Charm, Craig said that he was willing to move to New York City to live with Briefing on Bravo, but she wanted to focus on her career. He also said that he bought her an engagement ring. On Summer House, Paige has been open with castmates Sierra Miller and Amanda Batula about how she was feeling anxious ahead of her podcast tour because Craig didn't know how he would fit in. The first couple of Bravo. Andy Cohen's Summer House revelation. Andy Cohen hadn't planned on spending his Sunday morning glued to his laptop, coffee slowly cooling beside him, Summer House flickering on screen like a fever dream of beach waves and emotional confessions. But there he was, halfway through Season 9, lost in a montage of bonfires, podcast prep, and quiet, anxious glances exchanged between Paige DeSorbo and Craig Conover. He paused the screen mid-tier. Paige was sitting cross-legged on a striped lounger, shoulders tense, her voice soft but steady as she confessed to Sierra and Amanda how lost she felt. Not lost in love, no, that wasn't the issue. Lost in balance, in space, in time. Craig didn't understand what it meant to be swept up in the swell of her career, and she didn't know how to make him see it without breaking something that once felt unshakable. Andy leaned back in his chair, the audio of Paige's words still echoing in his head. I feel like I'm dragging him through this part of my life, like he's not rooting for me the way I need him to. It hit differently now. He had already spoken about the breakup back in January, live on Radio Andy, right after the announcement was made. At the time, he had simply sighed and said, we were very sad to get the news about Paige and Craig, I have to say, they were the first couple of Bravo. Back then, the split felt distant, a news item more than a narrative. Now, watching it unfold in real time through Paige's perspective, it wasn't just gossip. It was a heartbreak, a quiet one. A slow burn, like the sun setting over Montauk. John, Andy said, tapping a finger against his mic, the following morning on Briefing on Bravo, I have to admit something. Watching Paige this season has completely shifted my view on what went down between her and Craig. John Hill leaned forward, curious. Oh, are we entering the Andy Cohen is rethinking his Bravo biases era? Andy chuckled. Maybe, but seriously, Paige, she's been so vulnerable. Watching her sit with her anxiety, watching her try to build something big on her own terms, while being in a relationship that doesn't always make room for that. It's eye-opening, John finished for him. Andy nodded. Exactly. Craig keeps saying he was blindsided, and maybe he was. But Paige? Paige was signaling all season that something wasn't working. You can see it on her face. That moment in the teaser, when he says, "Well, if you're going to be this busy, I don't think this can happen," you see the heartbreak. She literally looks like she's thinking, "Do you want me to retire?" John said with a grimace. Andy exhaled. Yeah, it's brutal, and it's real, and I don't know, it makes me appreciate Paige more. The segment went viral before lunch. Part 2. The teaser heard round the Bravoverse. It wasn't long before clips from Briefing on Bravo made their way across social media. Fan pages lit up with theories. Reddit threads doubled in length. Paige's defenders flooded the comments, emboldened by Andy's shift. By Tuesday, the Bravo community had unofficially renamed the next Summer House episode. The teaser heard round the Bravoverse. And yet, amid the noise, Paige remained characteristically quiet. No cryptic tweets, no subtweets, no hidden likes. Instead, she poured herself into her podcast tour, showing up for fans, nailing interviews, dressing flawlessly for press junkets while the internet played connect the dots with her heartbreak. Meanwhile, Craig was retreating. On Southern Charm, he seemed listless, unsure. He mentioned New York less and Charleston more. His ring, once rumored to be a symbol of imminent engagement, had become the ghost of a love story that almost was. Andy watched it all unfold with a growing sense of melancholy. He had always joked that Bravo relationships lived and died in the confessionals, but this one was different. This one had him feeling like he had missed something too. 3. Bravo's lost royalty. The phrase Andy had once tossed around half-joking, the first couple of Bravo, felt heavier now. More loaded, he remembered how it came to be. They weren't just photogenic. They weren't just reality TV famous. Paige and Craig had been beloved across fan bases, stitching together Bravo's two crown jewel franchises, Summer House and Southern Charm, like a fantasy crossover that nobody had dared dream would actually last. When they walked into BravoCon hand in hand, cameras flashing, fans screaming, it was like Will and Kate had entered the building, only with better spray tans and more rosé. Andy had introduced them on stage with a wink and said, "All hail the first couple of Bravo." The audience went wild. Paige had blushed. Craig had kissed her hand. Now, that title felt like a curse. "Do you think we did this to them?" Andy asked John during an off-air break later that week. John raised a brow. Did what? Built them up too much. Put too much on their shoulders. Like they had to work out, just because we liked the way they looked standing next to each other in a step and repeat. John was silent for a moment, then said, "I don't think we did it, but I think we made it harder for them to walk away." That sat with Andy. It sat with him on the train ride home, sat with him as he poured a drink that night, sat with him as he scrolled through Paige's Instagram and saw a behind-the-scenes snap of her and Amanda in a dressing room, smiling, radiant, no trace of the girl who'd broken down on the Hamptons porch 6 episodes ago. She was building something despite the noise, and that, Andy thought, was the story nobody was really telling. Part 4. Paige's confessional courage. The next Summer House episode aired on a Thursday night, and Andy watched it live for once, curled on the couch with his kids asleep upstairs and the volume turned low. Paige's scene came late in the episode. She was pacing the backyard, earbuds in, talking to her manager about the logistics of a sold-out podcast tour. Her voice was clear, measured, confident until the call ended. Then she exhaled, sat down slowly on a bench, and pulled her knees to her chest. Amanda walked outside and sat beside her. "You okay?" she asked softly. Paige paused. "I feel like Craig doesn't get any of this. Like, I tell him what I'm doing, and he's just quiet. And then, if I cancel dinner to do press, It's like I'm choosing my job over him. You're not, Amanda said immediately. I know, but it feels like he thinks I am. And that makes me feel guilty for being successful, which is insane, right?